Imagine a time when the bustling bars and lively taverns of America fell silent. A time when the nation embarked on a bold experiment to rid society of what many considered its greatest vice. Welcome to the era of Prohibition. From 1920 to 1933, the United States ventured into uncharted territory, outlawing the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcohol. This period, known as Prohibition, marked a unique chapter in American history, where the country grappled with the limits of morality, personal freedom, and the law. But what led to this unprecedented ban on booze? And what were its consequences, both intended and unintended, on American society? Join us as we uncork the story of Prohibition, a time of speakeasies, bootleggers, and the battle for the soul of a nation. This is Historical Corridors, and in this episode, we're diving into the extraordinary tale of Prohibition in America. Stay with us. The roots of Prohibition stretch far back into the 19th century, where a growing tide of temperance movements began to sweep across the United States. Fueled by pietistic Protestant groups, these movements aimed to curtail the consumption of alcohol, seeing it as a moral failing that led to societal decay. Organizations such as the Anti-Saloon League emerged, wielding considerable political influence. They campaigned vigorously, portraying saloons as breeding grounds for immorality, domestic abuse, and social ills. Their efforts culminated in the ratification of the 18th Amendment in 1920, backed by the Volstead Act, which provided the legal framework to enforce the ban on alcohol. This marked the beginning of Prohibition, a bold legislative act aimed at eradicating alcohol from American life. But what was intended as a cure for society's ills would soon reveal complex challenges and unintended consequences. The Prohibition era wasn't just a legislative act. It was a societal movement aimed at eradicating what was seen as a major cause of social problems. The temperance movements and anti-saloon leagues believed that by eliminating alcohol, they could significantly reduce crime, corruption, and social issues. However, the path to prohibition was fraught with challenges. Advocates faced strong opposition from the liquor industry and those who viewed drinking as a personal liberty, not a societal ill. Despite this, the movement gained momentum, buoyed by a wave of pietistic moralism sweeping the nation. The culmination of these efforts was the 18th Amendment and the Volstead Act, which not only banned the sale of alcohol, but also its manufacture and transportation. It was a sweeping attempt to legislate morality and public health through prohibition. Before the national ban, several states had already enacted their own prohibition laws, creating a patchwork of alcohol regulations across the country. This set the stage for a national policy that would forever change the American social landscape. With the stroke of a pen, America entered an era where the common pleasures of beer and wine became illegal, catching many by surprise as beverages containing more than 1% alcohol were banned. This drastic change reshaped the American social fabric overnight. The immediate effect was profound. Breweries, wineries, and distilleries shuttered, thrusting thousands out of work. The landscape of American leisure and social life transformed, with the once bustling saloons and taverns replaced by speakeasies, hidden bars that operated in the shadows of the law. Speakeasies became the heartbeat of the Prohibition era, serving as clandestine sanctuaries for those yearning for a sip of forbidden spirits. Despite the risks, these establishments flourished, fueled by the thrill of defiance and the demand for alcohol. As legitimate sources dried up, the void was quickly filled by bootleggers and moonshiners. These illicit entrepreneurs smuggled alcohol across borders or brewed their own, often with dangerous consequences due to the lack of regulation. The rise of bootlegging not only underscored the ingenuity of those determined to circumvent the law, but also highlighted the unintended consequences of prohibition. The attempt to enforce sobriety had instead given birth to a vast underground economy. As speakeasies thrived and bootlegging became rampant, the dark side of prohibition began to emerge. The era saw a significant rise in organized crime as criminal syndicates seized the lucrative opportunity to supply illegal alcohol to the thirsty public. Figures like Al Capone became household names, amassing fortunes and wielding power through the control of the alcohol trade. The streets of major cities became battlegrounds for turf wars between rival gangs, leading to violence and corruption. The efforts to enforce prohibition were vast, but law enforcement agencies found themselves outmatched. Bootlegging was not just a local problem. It was a national crisis, with illegal alcohol flowing across state lines, challenging the capabilities of the police and federal agents. Despite the noble intentions behind prohibition, the era underscored a fundamental truth. Legislating morality is a complex and often futile endeavor. The attempt to outlaw alcohol consumption not only failed to eradicate it, but also led to unintended consequences, including a surge in crime and a deep-seated public resentment towards the law. As the reality of prohibition's failings became apparent, the stage was set for its eventual repeal. But the legacy of this era, with its speakeasies, bootleggers, and gangsters, would forever leave its mark on American history. The enforcement of prohibition revealed a nation deeply divided. On one side, the dry advocates celebrated the victory of moral reform, believing that the absence of alcohol would lead to a more virtuous and healthy society. However, the wet's opposition, including many ordinary Americans, viewed prohibition as an infringement on personal freedoms and an unwelcome intrusion by the government into private lives. The division was not just ideological, it mirrored deeper social and cultural rifts within the country. The challenge of enforcing the law became quickly apparent. Despite the efforts of the government and the Prohibition Bureau, the sheer scale of illegal operations overwhelmed law enforcement. Corruption within the police and political circles further complicated enforcement efforts, as many officials turned a blind eye or were directly involved in the liquor trade. The struggle to control the flow of alcohol demonstrated the limitations of the law in regulating moral behavior, raising questions about the role of government in legislating morality. As the years passed, the initial support for prohibition began to wane, revealing the complexities of enforcing a law against a deeply ingrained social habit. As the 1920s progressed, the enforcement of prohibition faced increasing criticism and skepticism from the American public. The noble experiment, initially heralded as a moral victory, began to be seen by many as a failed policy that contributed to greater societal issues than it solved. The widespread disregard for prohibition laws not only highlighted the American spirit of individualism and resistance to perceived overreach, but also reflected the complex relationship between society and moral legislation. The era underscored the difficulty of imposing moral standards through legal means, especially in the face of widespread public opposition. The campaign against illegal spirits ultimately revealed the limits of prohibitionist policies. While intended to foster a healthier, more moral society, prohibition instead led to the flourishing of organized crime, widespread corruption, and a deep-rooted culture of defiance. This period in American history serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities of governing personal behavior and the unpredictable outcomes of legislating morality. As prohibition waned, it left behind a legacy of debate over the balance between individual freedom and collective good. As the 920s turned into the 930s, the tide of public opinion increasingly turned against prohibition. The Great Depression underscored the need for economic recovery, and many Americans began to see the potential tax revenue from alcohol sales as a missed opportunity to aid this recovery. The financial strain of the era, coupled with the rampant corruption and crime associated with the illegal alcohol trade, led to a growing consensus that prohibition was more harmful than helpful. This shift in public sentiment set the stage for political action. In 1932, the Democratic Party included the repeal of prohibition in their platform, signaling a major shift in policy direction. The election of Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was a known opponent of prohibition, further cemented the path towards repeal. The culmination of these efforts was the ratification of the 21st Amendment in 1933, which officially ended prohibition.
Here's the big moment. Acting Secretary of State William Phillips is signing the 21st Amendment, and prohibition is repealed.
This marked a significant moment in American history, acknowledging the limitations of prohibitionist policies and the complexities of legislating morality. The repeal of prohibition through the 21st Amendment was not just a legal reversal. It was a profound societal shift reflecting America's evolving attitudes towards alcohol, governance, and personal freedoms. The end of prohibition brought about immediate and tangible changes. Breweries, distilleries, and taverns reopened, reigniting industries and employment. Moreover, the government could now tax alcohol, providing a much-needed source of revenue during the economic hardships of the Great Depression. This moment also marked a significant political lesson. The failure of prohibition underscored the challenges of enforcing moral behavior through legislation, highlighting the limits of governmental intervention in personal choices. Today, the Prohibition era serves as a cautionary tale about the complexities of societal reform and the importance of balancing moral aspirations with practical realities. As we reflect on this chapter of American history, we recognize the enduring value of dialogue, compromise, and respect for individual liberty. The legacy of prohibition extends far beyond its 13-year lifespan, leaving indelible marks on American society, law, and culture. One of the most significant outcomes was the profound impact on the American legal system and the enforcement of law. The enforcement of prohibition required an unprecedented expansion of federal law enforcement, laying the groundwork for modern federal policing. This era also highlighted the challenges of enforcing widespread social policies against a backdrop of public opposition. Culturally, prohibition had a lasting effect on American attitudes towards alcohol, contributing to the development of a cocktail culture and the normalization of women drinking in public spaces, as speakeasies were more inclusive than pre-prohibition saloons. Moreover, the era of prohibition underscored the complexities of legislating morality and the limits of such legislation in regulating personal behavior, sparking ongoing debates about the role of government in personal choices. The end of prohibition did not merely mark a legislative reversal. It triggered a profound reevaluation of the relationship between the state and individual liberties. The lessons learned from this noble experiment continue to influence American policies on substance regulation and personal freedoms. Prohibition taught us about the complexities of enforcing morality through law and the potential for such efforts to backfire, leading to unintended societal consequences. It underscored the importance of considering the practical implications of legislation on personal behavior and societal norms. Today, as debates over the regulation of substances like cannabis unfold, the echoes of prohibition provide a cautionary tale. They remind us that policies intended to protect public health and morality must be balanced with respect for individual rights and the realities of enforcement. The legacy of prohibition serves as a reminder that the path to societal improvement is complex. It requires a nuanced understanding of human behavior, the role of government, and the indomitable nature of the human spirit to seek freedom. As we close the chapter on prohibition and its lasting impact on American society, we invite you to reflect on the lessons it teaches us about law, culture, and the human spirit's resilience. What do you think about the complexities of legislating morality and the balance between public good and individual freedoms? How do these historical insights resonate with today's societal challenges? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through one of America's most intriguing eras, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Historical Corridors for more insightful content on the stories that shape our world. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep exploring the corridors of history.